this wall is the best thing that ever happened to cartels. We probably need to move here before dark because that's when it starts getting active, and we don't be in the way. We don't want to be in the way with cameras with these guys.
This week, we went down to El Paso, Texas to visit our friend Luis Chaparro. He brought us into Ciudad Juarez, took us through the most dangerous neighborhood in one of the most dangerous cities in the world to show us what was really going on at the U.S. Mexico border.
I think the Mexican institution of immigration is taking probably over 80% of all the bribes and the money from migrants and leaving the rest to cartels, right? Migrants worth only as much money as someone's gonna pay for them.
That's when I see the lights behind me start to flash. And I didn't even think, I just hit it. I was driving like my life depended on it. And then I parked the car, hopped out, closed the door, and I started running.
And he pulls out a burner, a shank, it's like 6 inches. And then he passes it to me. And he goes, here, that's yours. Don't ever leave the cell block without this. He was the reason I made it out of that place alive. Luis, you're basically a third arm of the show at this point.
Yeah, man.
We're here, I don't know, sometimes in podcasting you get a wild hair up your ass. And the migrant crisis, the porous border, it was the biggest story of the year until the attack on Israel on October 7th. Now there's nothing from Fox, there's nothing from the mainstream media. So I figured let's come down to the border. Yeah. Let's do it. So we've got Juárez over here.
Yes.
We've got, just on the other side of this fence, we have New Mexico, and then your hometown, El Paso, Texas.
Exactly.
Just maybe like 3 miles in the distance.
Yes, this is literally how dynamic the whole border is, right? It's border state, but also two countries in the same place. So yeah, dude.
It's pretty surreal because we just drove through, pretty abject poverty.
Yeah.
And, I'm wearing a Tom Segura podcast t-shirt. And it's all because of our money.
Yes.
The value of our money because of our military might after World War II.
Yeah.
That's the reason we are able to buy all this stuff is because people value our currency more. That's the whole.
That's about it, yes.
That's the whole spread.
Yeah.
So let's get in it because we don't have a lot of daylight left. So you're from here. This is home.
Exactly. Yes, I was born here in Ciudad Juarez, and just recently moved to El Paso like not long ago, probably a bit over 2 years ago.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm new to El Paso, man. I'm new to the American way of life,
Yeah. Well, but you've been a journalist covering cartels and crime for 15 years plus.
Yes.
So you really escaped with your life, because you were telling me just yesterday or the day before, a journalist was killed.
Yeah. A local colleague, Ismael Villaseñor, was murdered in the streets of Ciudad Juarez. Again, Mexican authorities are saying it was unrelated to his work, right? They said it was a robbery. But if someone's trying to rob you a car, they're just gonna put up a gun. It's illegal to carry in Mexico, so they know you don't have a gun. There's no need to put put 5 bullets in your head,
right.
3 in your neck, if they're gonna rob you, right?
That's not a typical mugging.
Exactly. It makes no sense, to be honest.
What is the situation in Juarez now, today? I remember 2010, 2012. Yeah. It made international news as one of the most violent places on earth. Where does it stand today?
It is almost going back to those years right now. It's wild because, again, we've been seeing days, probably 2 weeks ago, we've been seeing days with over 11, 12, 13 murders a day. Back then, that was news, right? That was like, dude, Ciudad Juarez is one of the most, if not the most violent city in the world out of a war, zone with 13 murders a day. That was a lot. But right now, the thing is, Mexico is so crazy right now with killings, murders, whatever, that Juarez, even if you have 13 murders a day, it's like, oh, okay, so that's pretty average for a city like that, right? But yeah, it's picking back up, man. It's picking, sadly, it is picking back up.
13 murders, you can't even, at that point, it doesn't really, it's hard to even humanize that. Yeah. It's just such a ridiculous amount of murders for a city that's like, we were just at Walmart 2 miles away, and there's a bunch of, fat Americans on their phones, and there's already been statistically 4 people murdered in this little town. It's surreal.
Exactly, because when you think about 13 murders a day, you think about okay, so that's probably not a lot in a day, but that's every day. So 2 days, 3 days, a month.
I mean, compared to Gaza right now, I guess it's not a lot. But
right? It's
you mean name me a higher crime-ridden area? Maybe Honduras, maybe some parts of El Salvador.
Yeah.
But it's not. So what's causing that violence? Tell us who is fighting it out for Juarez right now.
Right now, the thing in Juarez is that it's a very fragile situation right now in Juarez. Back then, before the war in 2010, 2009, you had the Juarez Cartel, a single unified cartel with a strong armed branch, right? La Línea.
And pardon me, the Juarez Cartel, correct me if I'm wrong, that is a legacy cartel, or was.
Exactly.
And that split off from the original cartel from Sinaloa, Miguel Ángel Felix Gallardo.
Which was, they were from Sinaloa, but that was the Guadalajara Federation, right?
Right.
Most of the main cartels broke from the Guadalajara Federation, right?
Right, and Juarez was one of them.
And Juarez was one of them, with Amado Carrillo back in the 90s, the Lord of the Skies, right? Then, and his family, you know, So basically, when this was happening, Juarez was still the main cartel, the only cartel controlling this border, probably up to Ojinaga, these towns, on far west, east Texas. And then the Sinaloa cartel arrived to kind of like own this city, right? They were truces, still working. Like, hey, Sinaloa, you want to put weight from our border, then you have to pay a percentage of what you're moving through this city. And that was working perfectly. At some point, El Chapo decided, you know what, we're not going to pay. Let's just own that city as we own Tijuana, and we try to own Guadalajara, and we try to own, other different cities. Yeah. They try to move in here. So that started a violent war in the city when it was, called the most dangerous in the world. Right now, the thing is that war kind of like went over. They stopped fighting first because they exterminated each other. There were no more soldiers to kill. There were a lot of killings. And they also had a truce, right? They're like, okay, this is not working for any of us. Not for your cartel, not for mine, not for the Mexican government, not for the local businesses, whatever. So they stopped fighting for a good while. I think in 2012, the numbers of killings went down. They really went down to probably 3-4 murders a day. And they stay like that. And then we had another peak, 2018, and it's been going on and off, right? Right now, what it is happening is the Juarez cartel split into different smaller factions, right? There's the Juarez cartel, what is called the old Juarez cartel. And then you have the Nuevo Cartel de Juárez, new Juarez cartel. And then you have La Línea, which still works with the Juarez cartel. And then you have La Empresa, which is a branch from La Línea working for the new Juarez cartel. And then you will have a local gang, which basically was born in Texas prisons, but they operate in this border in Ciudad Juarez.
What are they called?
Los Aztecas, Barrio Azteca, right? They're huge in Texas prisons.
Right.
They were basically the armed street gangs working with the Juarez cartel. Now they also split. Some of them said like, we're gonna work with La Empresa, and some others were like, we're gonna stay loyal to La Línea. That happened within the Juarez cartel only. The Sinaloa cartel also fractured, right? You have los Salazar, los Artistas Asesinos, los Mexicles. Eventually, one of these gangs, los Mexicles, said, you know what? Why don't we actually work with the Juarez cartel? I mean, we're sworn enemies, but now we can be probably friends. So they try to work with them. So that Mexicles gang also split. And now you have an old Mexicle guard and a new Mexicle guard. It's
what about outside cartels? So you have 4 local factions of what was the Juarez cartel battling it out. It's chaos. Are there any, is a presence from Sinaloa in the west, or remnants of the Gulf cartel from the east?
It's just the Sinaloa cartel. Like the factions of the Sinaloa cartel that kind of like stayed here. Yeah. They also started like branching. So you have all these different gangs also fighting against the other different gangs. And you have a lot of financial presence of the Jalisco New Generation cartel. They don't have henchmen, they don't have people, in the streets. They just have a lot of money put into Ciudad Juarez through the Juarez cartel. So they broke an alliance to launder a lot of money in this city, because this city has a very dynamic business ecosystem, right?
Of course.
You have a lot of maquiladoras, you have a bunch of new hotels, a lot of Americans coming back and forth.
That's right.
You have all of that. So the new generation cartel was like, let's just put money into Juarez, but they're not fighting the streets.
Okay. All right. So there's multiple criminal operations going on. Obviously, people moving product, every kind of drug across the border. There's a local drug market. People are buying drugs, coke, fentanyl. There's a lot of addicts in Juarez.
Yes, probably the main reason that a cartel wants to fight Juarez, it's not because of trying to get drugs across. It's because of the local market.
So there's enough money to make it worth it to fight out?
The local market is huge. I mean, if you think about Tijuana, probably a biggest border, right? Like they have these huge ports of entry, whatever. The main reason is to get drugs across, especially from Sinaloa. They have the same high, whatever. The local market is huge, but it's not as big as Juarez. So what cartels wants to fight in Juarez is the local drug market, right? Like the local distribution of drugs. Now they're killing a lot of what they call cristaleros, the guys who are selling crystal meth, right? Because they want to bring back up cocaine. They're like, no, dude, we're gonna sell cocaine and heroin. Stay away from.
So they're trying to get back to their roots.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So now they're like trying to find cristaleros. They're putting a lot of intelligence. They're like, hey, where the f are with these crystal meth sellers? And they're killing a bunch of them, including the local police. They are putting the same work,
So by killing, I assume they probably kill crystal meth users.
Yeah, también.
And so what they're saying is, you're not hooked on crystal anymore.
Yeah.
You're going back to coke.
Yeah. Or whatever they want. If you wanna be out of drugs, whatever, but just don't use crystal.
Wow. Now, why is that? There's so much money in crystal meth.
Yeah, but
why are they trying to switch back to coke?
I think first it's cheaper, of course. You're making way less money from crystal than coke. The routes of distribution, production, laboratories, all that, it's harder to control the whole route, right? From laboratory, where is it making, who's making meth, whatever. Because there's even people in the U.S. and New Mexico making meth and shipping over back to Juarez and whatever. So the cocaine market, it's way more controllable. So you want to have control on how much money is going out and in and whatever. So that's what they're hating on the crystal meth. And also, it creates a certain type of addict that will rob your house, kill for money, carjack you, kidnap you. So yes, that's what they don't want. These organizations don't want that happening in Juarez, right?
Luis, every time I have you on, I expect to talk about one thing, and then you just blow my mind with something else.
Yeah, dude.
That kind of control, the way that they can shape life.
Yeah.
The Mexican criminal organizations. I don't even know what to say sometimes.
Yeah, dude.
I'm living behind, what is still the most powerful, law-abiding country in the world.
Today's episode is sponsored by Factor Meals. You have a lot going on this holiday season. It's important to save time where you can. With Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, saving time in the kitchen is a total breeze. Check it out. Factor delivers chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals straight to your door. They're always fresh, never frozen. Just heat them up, and in 2 minutes, dinner is served. Choose from over 35 weekly meal options, including awesome breakfast options like apple cinnamon pancakes and bacon and cheddar egg bites. With so many options, there's something everyone in the family will love. Here's the thing, guys. With inflation so out of control, going to the grocery store, when you factor in time, gas, it actually costs more than using a meal prep kit like Factor. I use Factor for literally all of my meals. It's incredible. They send a box right to your door, and I have all the food I need for the week. It's amazing. It really tastes like home-cooked food, and I make it in 2 minutes. They got vegan options, vegetarian, keto, calorie smart, protein plus meals. No matter what your goals are, Factor can help you get there. Right now, head over to factormeals.com/connect50. That's connect50, and use code connect50 to get 50% off. One more time, that's code connect50 at factormeals.com/connect50 to get 50% off. You guys, go check out Factor Meal, change your life, change your diet. Let's get back into the episode.
But we're here today because, the new lick, the new hustle is migrant smuggling.
Yes.
So we got the wall behind me, right? We'll show some B-roll of what the old wall was, which is probably like, I don't know, maybe a 20-foot high fence. next
That's what we
to
call the Obama's wall, right?
Right.
He built the wall, but it was that kind of like smaller, more fragile wall.
That's a Democratic Party wall.
That's a liberal wall. Right?
Next to it is the Republican
Yes.
wall. That's a Trump wall.
Exactly.
And that's twice as high.
Yeah.
And much more sturdy.
Thick,
The
yes.
iron they use.
And it goes 5 feet under the ground, right? So it's definitely bigger. What is a wall really making? You know, when you talk to Border Patrol, whatever, they know that this is not going to stop anyone. But that what they see is that's going to win us some time to get there, catch these guys, and you know, so they don't run us free, whatever. But what is making for criminal organizations to it? They're just making this wall is the best thing that ever happened to cartels, because now they're charging tons of money because of that, right?
Because it's harder.
Because it's harder, exactly. Because before, all of this was just like chicken fence, right?
Right.
This really fragile, small, super. It was about my size, you know, the whole wall. The whole wall just wasn't wall.
They took the average height of a Mexican man.
And it's like, that's it.
5'8".
5'8".
We'll get a cap it at that.
Exactly, dude. So right there in that area right there, it's called La Napra, one of the toughest neighborhoods in Juárez, right? Probably even in Mexico.
So for people that can't see, how far is that? A mile? I mean,
It's probably less than a mile, yes.
We're looking down at one of the neighborhoods that is probably responsible for most of the bodies, the 13 murders a day.
Exactly.
They happen right there.
Yes, right here. Here. This is a very complex place, right? Because it's in the outskirts of Ciudad Juarez, and if you drive through it, you will have one paved road, kind of like paved, right? It's pavement, but still it's paved. All of the side roads, it's just dirt roads, and it's been like that forever. And that is because of the cartels that operate in this area. They don't want pavement because they own, 4x4 pickup trucks, whatever. And whenever the police tries to show up, they're gonna need some, they need to know the terrain. They're gonna be stuck in some places.
It's harder for them to chase.
Exactly. So they want to keep it like that.
Okay, I'm honestly a little surprised being here. We saw the Elon Musk video where he's at that border crossing where literally it's hundreds of people an hour are just walking through. They're asylum seekers. Let's unravel this.
Yes.
There's the truth usually lies in the middle.
Yeah.
What is the situation today? I haven't seen one migrant. I haven't seen one. So clearly this isn't the most porous crossing on the U.S. Mexico border. What now for people seeking asylum? What is the major crossing point?
It is still El Paso. It is El Paso and a port in. Well, it's not a port.
But where is it though? We're in El Paso.
It's El Paso. It's right down there. You'll definitely see more people pouring in.
Okay.
Not a lot. It went down probably 2 months ago, but during summer, dude, this was absolutely crazy.
Right.
And again, most of those guys are asylum seekers. They're not trying what the U.S. Border Patrol call getaways. They're not getaways.
Right.
They're trying to turn themselves over to Border Patrol to start or begin their political asylum process, right? The U.S. says they have a system. They have CBP-1 app, so you can use your phone, wait in Mexico, happy with a margarita for your asylum, hearing, whatever.
But hang on, what we're told now is they're actually, when they line up, they give them a court date and say, see you later, and they actually let them in now. That's a new Biden policy that's very controversial.
That is the thing.
How much of that is true? Is that really happening?
It is happening. It is happening mostly with family units or with women and children, right? That mostly. Some solo adults will get that benefit too. But that is exactly the thing. The Biden administration probably has the best intentions, good ideas. Let's put up an app. Let's have these people here waiting for their court dates, whatever. But on the ground, it's not working. There is not a system in place. So places like El Paso and Juarez become a show. There's people confused all over. The shelters packed, people trying to jump the wall, people trying to go under, people falling in the hands of coyotes, smugglers that says, hey dude, you're not gonna get a court date. But if you pay me $7,000, I can get you across. And then you wait for your court date already in the US because there's no way. So there's everything you see in the news back and forth, liberal and conservative, everything is happening. It's actually happening.
Right.
Both sides, right? There is a lot of them. getting released in the streets of El Paso.
Wow.
Overwhelming El Paso. But there's also a lot of them just getting sent back to Mexico, overwhelming Mexican authorities. What it depends, no one knows.
Right.
Not even the migrants, attorneys, authorities. No one knows it because...
So when a shelter gets overrun in Juarez, will they try to kick them across?
What they do is they just let them out on the streets. And that was that, yeah.
Are authorities in Mexico working with cartels to help migrants come through? Or to help illegal immigrants, however you want to term it?
The official thing is they're working with the Biden administration to stop the flux of migrants going in through Mexico. So this wall now is moving to the Mexican southern border, right? To Chiapas. That's where a human wall is, right? So Mexico deployed a lot of people from the Instituto Nacional de Migración, the Mexican Institute of Immigration, to Chiapas to stop people from coming to the northern border, right? The thing is, what do you think is going to happen when you send a lot of people on the most corrupt institution in Mexico? Even more than the local police, this is the most corrupt institution in the whhole country.
The Border Patrol?
The Mexican immigration.
Wow, institute. I had no idea. Even more than federales.
Dude, it's widely that they do. These guys have institutionalized corruption, right? That's on their constitution.
Right.
They're extorting migrants. They're sending them back to smugglers. They're sending them to cartels. They're putting in Juarez. It was recently, I think it was in March. There was a huge fire in one of these detention centers. Over 40 people, migrants, died in this fire. They were there not because they were, doing something illegal, whatever. Some of them even had a permit to be legally in Mexico. They were there because they didn't pay a bribe to the Mexican Institute of Immigration. They were locked there. The guy with the key went home, had a good coffee back home. He was watching a movie while these guys were burning inside these detention center, right? So this is exactly what is happening. Again, part of that money. So
the Mexican authorities are completely in on it. They're completely everybody's getting money out of the migrant crisis.
I think the Mexican Institution of Immigration is taking probably over 80% of all the bribes and the money from migrants and leaving the rest to cartels, right?
Well, I guess my question is, do you think they're working in tandem? Let's back up for a second, because we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
So you have the political asylum seekers, right? People fleeing violence. What do you think right now is the country with the most out-migration trying to get into the U.S.? Venezuela.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That makes sense.
Venezuelans, yes.
What about Africa?
It is wide, but it's less than 10%. All across the borders.
Right.
There are a lot of people from Africa, but it's probably not even 10% of them.
Okay. And then, Hamas cells, Hezbollah cells.
Yeah,
I don't believe it. What's your take on it?
I mean, there has been cases. I mean, we're gonna stick to the truth. You can't say it's not happening. It's not happening systematically. It's not happening a lot.
Yeah.
But it has happened. Mexico has found terrorist cells embedded with migrant caravans and with migrants trying to pour in. Every 1 or 2 years, they are trying to use these routes. Now, the difference is, most of these guys, they do have money, right? They do have a backup of a criminal organization or a terrorist organization. So most of these guys will not try to go across on the border wall or tunnels or whatever. They go straight to the ports of entry with fake identities, right?
Yeah. And their goal is to get into the U.S. and commit a terrorist act.
I think what they really want to do is to gather information, right? Because most of the terrorist attacks that we've seen in the past in the U.S. are within the U.S., like cells formed within what they call domestic terrorism, right? And so most of these guys were probably just trying to go in to gather info, keep sending info on,
So you have that element of the immigration crisis, migrants, asylum seekers. Then you just have you have your getaways, right? Whether that is people seeking asylum or it's just people that want to come here from the central Mexico, right? Down the street that want to escape poverty, whatever, they want to work. What do you think now is the percentage of migrants versus illegal immigrants?
I think right now it's definitely way more migrants seeking political asylum, but this is the thing, again, you can't count what you can see, right?
Yeah, sure.
You don't know what the number is of the people that is getting away because they're getting away. So you don't have that number. And when you have a border like this, where you don't have a system and it's overwhelmed, and both cities are overwhelmed, how much attention are you gonna put into those getaways, right? So this is fun time for cartels and for everybody who wants to get across, right?
Right.
Not even because the border patrol is not doing their job or whatever. It's because this is a shit show. There's a lot of people going back and forth, a lot of confusion, a lot of different people from different countries, while cartels are like cashing in. So like, hey, dude, we have routes, we have the means to get you across, and we don't care where you're coming from. We don't give a. We'll just.
And what's the scale of the rate to get across? You were telling me earlier there's a low end for like just the basic service, and then there's like the deluxe package.
Yeah, exactly. So basically
Explain
the low end will be someone who's just trying to get across into El Paso, literally. They don't want any ride to whatever. They just like, I just need to get across these walls, right? For that, they will charge you $5,000, $5,000 US dollars, just to get you across the border.
Yeah.
There's different packages, right? Well, I want to be moved more into New Mexico, to Albuquerque, past the checkpoints, right? That's going to be probably $8,000 to $10,000 US dollars. If you want to go through a tunnel, we can get you through a tunnel going out on the sewer system in El Paso.
Hold on, they have those?
They have a bunch of those, yes.
Okay, oh my God, tell us about this. Do they use the drug tunnels in tandem with migrant tunnels, or is it a separate
What they will
tunnel?
use is the watering system for the Rio Grande, right? From the river that splits Mexico and the U.S.
Yeah.
You have watering system so it doesn't overflows when it rains, right? So you have these what we call compuertas, which are basically gates.
Yeah.
That they open and release water into a sewer system or whatever, so it doesn't get flooded, right? So they use those. They open these gates underneath the ground.
I assume they're in collusion with like the city workers or whoever.
Sometimes, but it's not hard. I mean, if we drive by and we hide for a while, no one sees us. The gates are right there, right? And they're easy to open. They're not. Sometimes they're probably properly closed. Sometimes it's just dig a hole, whatever. They just go underneath and come out of the sewer system downtown El Paso, right? There's been videos shared on social media where just like on a red light, and then sewer opens up, and a bunch of people coming out of that, you know? But that's expensive because they have to use, and that's more secure, right? You have more chances to make it if you go through these sewer systems, whatever.
What's the most expensive way?
Now, the most expensive way will be something around 200,000 pesos, which is probably it's like
200,000 pesos? Is that what you just said?
200,000 pesos.
So maybe 15, 20,000 dollars?
No, it's definitely way more. So it's not 200,000 pesos. It should be around like 50 grand, US grand, right? Like 50,000 US dollars around.
Wow.
That will get you literally an American passport, properly printed at a consulate, right?
A real passport.
A real passport, your name on it. It will pass the black light, whatever. But that doesn't really depend on, like, otherwise everybody will just put together 50,000, right? It really depends on who you know. You need to know someone who is on these.
Could I get a new identity? Like I have, let's say I have 50 grand, you're connected. Could we go get me a new American passport?
Yes, it will take a couple of days.
Yeah.
But yes, there is an underground marketplace for all of these, right? Handled by people on WhatsApp groups. They don't give access to everyone. You need to be connected. And then there's someone, offering passports, visas, tourist visas, whatever, new identities, death certificates, birth certificates,
So obviously there's Americans in the American consulates in Mexico who are being paid by the cartels to print these things.
Yeah, to print these things.
How organized is the smuggling? I mean, clearly it's pretty sophisticated. But compared to drug trafficking, how organized are the cartels now in human smuggling?
That's what I was trying to tell you because I forgot. We're right next to an opera, right? Before the whole politicized immigration talks, you only had chicken fence. So the whole operation of smuggling people in was handled by mom and pop living in this neighborhood, right? No one was really interested in that business because you weren't really making that much money, right? You will make probably $50 for a whole family. You know, it's like, just give me $50 and I'll help you across. I'll put put a step or whatever.
$50 to just step on my hand.
Step on my hand, get across, and boom, off you go. People on the other side of the border, these houses, churches, whatever, in New Mexico, they will have these guys, right? They will be like, yeah, stay here while the Border Patrol goes away. There was not a lot of Border Patrol, not a lot of cameras, probably no cameras, no sensors, whatever. It was people going back and forth. There were people just literally coming into the U.S., working for the day shift, going back to Juárez and then back again. It's different dynamics. When this started picking up, it was probably the biggest spike I saw of prices was right when Donald Trump became president.
Why? Because they assumed.
Because his whole speech was against Mexican, against immigration. He was talking about closing the wall, like literally closing the wall. All that. So these guys banked on that. They're like, oh, this is your last chance before Donald Trump, steps
That's how they sell it.
and builds this wall. So now it's gonna be twice the money.
He's like a CEO who makes an announcement and a stock goes up.
Literally like that. So that started making a lot of money to these guys. Now, when he changed the wall, well, Obama changed the wall first before he left office, right? They're like, you see, these walls are already starting. And that's gonna be, even worse eventually, whatever. They started like banking on that. But eventually, they started making so much money with the huge waves of migrants from South America. Because back then it was probably mostly Mexican, 95% Mexican, just trying to get across to get to work. But then with the whole crisis in Venezuela, Ecuador, Haiti, Cuba, with all these new influxes of different migrants coming to the border, that's when things really changed. That's where there was a lot of money to be made, even to stash them, even to give them a proper place to stay, to offer them different packages, to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Cartels started making, well, not cartels back then. These mom and pops started making big money, right? They started charging $2,000, $3,000 US, $4,000 US. There was a point where cartels were like, "What? Wait! You're making a lot of money. No, that money. You know what? We need 50% of that cut coming to us." So they started paying what they call piso, right?
So they just started off taxing it.
First, taxing. And then we're like, no, you know what? This is a lot of money to be made. We're taking over. They started killing a lot of local smugglers that were not working with them, right? I used to know these two brothers from Anapra. They were working even before the chicken fence, whatever. Then the cartel showed up. They started paying their tax. And then when the cartel said, like, no, now you work for us, right? The Juárez cartel, La Línea, was like, no, you work for us now. They were working for them, but also putting some work on the side, some side gigs, putting people. When they learned, they killed them both. They murdered them here in Napa. And
do they make it public? Like,
yes.
They must, right? How does, in the digital age, when they need to send a message, are they, putting it on TikTok? Are they putting it, how are they sending the message to the community that you guys work for us now?
The simplest way that there is, using the news, local news, right? They wouldn't even call local news. They'll just leave the body there, make sure that the police won't come up and pick the body, whatever. But before have the news there, like there was a killing, they report a killing, whatever, boom. A local reporter will go shoot photos, make a video piece forever for the night.
Okay, so clearly that all logically makes sense. It's post 9/11, making it really hard to get across, mixed with just demand went way up. Of course, they got their hands on it. So how does that look now? How would, who are the big, the four groups that are killing each other, day in and day out in Juárez? Are they also battling it out for migrant routes, or is it the legacy cartels that are much more embedded in legitimate society that are doing the human smuggling?
Yeah, exactly.
Who's doing it? Who's killing it right now?
It is exactly what you said. Like the Juárez cartel, La Línea, and the guys aligned with these legacy cartel, local cartel, for the most, probably over 90% of the whole human smuggling operations is handled by them. Not only because of that, but also not only because they've been here, making their ways in society wherever more before the Sinaloa cartel, whatever, but also because Remember I told you about the Barrio Azteca that was born on that side of the border. So they do have tentacles and people working on that side of the border, right? So that gave them an advantage.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we're not gonna put in Mexicans, bringing people, also taking people all the way up to Albuquerque, whatever. We're just gonna use Americans to do that part of the job, right?
Right. Yeah, and now you have a lot of Americans, right? Whether they're Mexican Americans or white Americans, who, just like drugs now, they're basically, the Mexican cartels are getting them wholesale just across the border, and then they're doing the rest.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, fascinating. Yes. So you would say this port of entry in the Juarez cartel in the human smuggling game right now is killing it harder than any of the other
I guess it is
cartels in Mexico.
Yeah, I think it's literally at the same level of what is happening East Texas, right? In Matamoros, Tamaulipas, all that area with the Gulf cartel.
Right.
Those guys are also like, dude, making a ton of money.
Right.
And yes, getting a lot of
And then on the west, you got to imagine the San Diego, Tijuana crossing. You got to imagine that Sinaloa, I mean, they got to have their hands in that a little bit, right?
That is Sinaloa. That is probably a bit more tighter, right? Because
a bit more
tighter in control, Yeah. They're still pushing a lot of migrants. They're still, the human smuggling is still huge in San Diego-Tijuana area, but probably not as big as here. Because Tijuana, specifically Tijuana, San Diego, is probably the biggest drug corridor in the whole border.
Right.
So that's a different game, right? That's like 80% of the fentanyl, it's getting across from that border,
So what does that have to do? Do they not want to mix rampant human smuggling with their drug corridor?
Yeah, they know that.
Interesting.
They know that could bring a lot of heat to their already established drug routes, right? They could lose that. So they're trying to move all of that to other places, like on the Mexicali Valley, right? Telexico, San Luis Rio Colorado, Algodones, in between Arizona.
Plus, there's so much more land here.
Exactly.
So give us from the stories you heard and the people you talked to, give us like a good example of how they would move, forget about the migrants for a second, how they would move a caravan full of getaways, illegal crossings. How would the Juarez cartel do that?
First, they have lookouts on the outskirts of the city, right? Most of them are getting here on buses. So they have a lot of people in the bus station, local bus station, looking and of course, targeting people that look like migrants.
Right.
They have this backpack and they have the looks, so they're like, okay, you're a migrant, come over, hey dude, there is no way you're gonna move on your own in the city. We own the city, so starting now, you're gonna work with us, So we're gonna take you to somewhere safe, whatever, safe as a safe house, stash house.
Right.
That's for migrants that are coming over to the city without an established route.
Interesting. So they're picking up business at the border.
At the border, at
the crossings.
None of the crossings, but literally where the bus station comes from other places in Mexico, right?
But is that, I want to start at the beginning of the chain. Is that, say the bus that's coming up, it's a group of migrants from Central America, Venezuela, they make it through, they make it through different checkpoints. Is that also a route controlled by cartels? And who's controlling that route?
Exactly, exactly. So if you have Central Americans, most Central Americans, are already under a network of criminal organizations all the way from Venezuela, right?
Okay.
So they will hire someone there who is well connected all up until this point, right?
Right. So
they will pay half there. That will ensure them they get across Mexican checkpoints, right?
Right.
Even though the Mexican Institute of Immigration, they will still try to extort them, right?
Of course.
They're like, no, but I already paid these guys, whatever. I don't know what the you're talking about. Those are criminals. We are the authority. Have to pay. So they still have to pay more. And then these criminals, imagine you're from Venezuela, you have no clue about Mexico and routes and countries and states, whatever. So these criminals are giving directions through phone, right? So now you're going to be in Zacatecas, and then Durango, and then Chihuahua, and then Ciudad Juarez, and someone's going to greet you in Ciudad Juarez, right? And
is somebody in Ciudad Juarez actually connected to somebody all the way in Venezuela?
These networks, this is the internet era, right? It is not hard to coordinate full teams and full networks from Juarez all the way to Venezuela, all the way to Caracas or whatever, right? All through all these different countries. You have a huge network, and it only takes for you to go on one of these WhatsApp groups where they coordinated the whole, right? They're like, if you need water, go to this store and right across the Darion Gap. At the Darion Gap, look for Doña Lupita. You have to pay her. And there's a whole network of
I mean, I imagine this involves hundreds, if not thousands of people.
Yeah. I was in the Darion Gap, which is this bottleneck between Colombia and Panama.
Right.
I can't remember the year, but some of you guys probably remember when the whole Meta system, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, shut off. Right, the servers were out.
Wow.
No servers all through Latin America. So these whole networks run on WhatsApp. So I was literally there in the middle of the jungle where they were departing a lot of like trips because they built this huge group of people, you know. So they're like, okay, group 1, go. Group 2, you're gonna go on a boat through the river, whatever. Boom, go. Group 4, you're gonna go with these armed people, henchmen, whatever. They're gonna drive you.
This is like modern day Native American scouts.
Yes,
that could take you through, you know,
different
the most
routes, depending on how much
terrain.
you're paying. Yeah, exactly. So they were moving people like that. And the way to confirm that they paid was through WhatsApp, right? Because they were like, hey, do you have your family member, whatever, whoever's gonna make that deposit in Venezuela or in Cuba, whatever? They're like, yeah. They already made the deposit. Yeah, ask him to send me the receipt. They send the receipt through WhatsApp. He gets the receipt. It's like, okay, so this group is good to go. They already paid. When the whole system shut down, the whole operation shut down.
Right.
It was like, boom, so no one's gonna move. No, I still have a receipt. No, they already paid. They called me on the phone. I can't get in touch with them. No one knew what was happening, right? We're like, oh, we lost signal. No one has like reception here. What's happening? Those guys were, well, no ticket, no ride, dude. So you're gonna stay put. And they're like, dude, but we need to move. They're expecting us. They already paid. Oh, they're scamming us. It was a huge mess because migrants were angry. Where they were like, my family already paid.
Yeah.
He's like, but I'm not getting confirmation. I have no reception, so you're not moving. The whole operation shut down for a couple of hours. After a couple of hours and reception went back, they started getting the receipts. Bing, bing, bing. They're like, okay, shipping people over.
So, but if something f***ed up and you're in the middle of the Darion Gap, which is like the last frontier.
Yeah.
I mean, armies can't penetrate it.
Yes,
It's just thick, thousands of miles of forest and jungle.
Yeah.
Will they just stop you and turn you back if you don't have the money?
No, they will keep you and ask for ransom, right? They will keep you and ask your families for like, I have your family here, whatever. You need to pay or else, you know.
Oh, so they might just kill you right there.
Dude, yes.
So do they not have a problem with killing people if, you know, something goes wrong in the chain?
Dude, migrants are merchandise right now. They're not humans for these guys, right? They're literally merchandise.
Right.
They're money. So they're like, okay, so this money, migrants worth only as much money as someone's gonna pay for them. No one's gonna pay for that migrant, let's kill.
It sounds like slavery. It sounds like almost like the Atlantic slave trade or something.
Literally, dude, if you go to the local cemetery here in Juárez, I was just there, there's a bunch of unidentified bodies there. Most of them are migrants that were killed or just died from the heat or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of migrants dying there. No one's claiming their bodies. So they're just buried in the ground with a stick and a number, you know, 1004, whatever.
What about like the sex trafficking element? You know, that's kind of was a conservative talking point a little bit. You know, there was a lot of like QAnon, you know, bull. Some of it's not though.
Yeah.
Some of it is true. There is something to, you know, young women that get kidnapped or children that are kidnapped trying to get to America, migrants, and then sold into like underground trafficking networks. Tell us about that.
This is the hardest part. I do not have evidence of that, not because it's not happening. A lot of U.S. sources I have and a lot of Mexican sources, they do know that it is happening, right? The hardest part to get evidence on how it's working, how much money is making, all of that stuff is, it is hard to tell when is human smuggling and when is human trafficking, right? It is really hard to tell because most of these girls or boys, whatever, they don't even know. They're paying. They're even paying to get smuggled in. They don't even know they're going to end up in the hands of a trafficker, right?
Well, something is sinister and evil as like child, you know, kidnapping a 10-year-old child to sell him to like, you know, into sexual slavery. You know, Mexican cartels, obviously not known for their morals, but you know, you guys love kids. Mexicans love kids. Do you think established cartels would put up with that? Do you like, in your estimation, is it small underground networks of people doing that, or are the big cartels also involved in that?
That was a difficult thing to understand when I was researching, for a story on sex trafficking that I didn't put out because I didn't find any evidence. Here's the thing: I started talking to different cartels, different people that I've known for a while. Probably 9 out of 10, they said like, "Dude, I have no clue. I've never heard of that happening here. I've never heard of these organizations doing that." Some others were like, "Absolutely no, this is not something we do."
Right.
But one guy probably from Sinaloa, he said like, "No, yeah, I know the organization does that kind of stuff, but that's other people, that's another faction, that's someone like,
Nobody wants to admit it.
No one's
That's real bad PR.
Or they are, like, we got to take into account also that not everything that is happening in the criminal world, like sex trafficking, arms trafficking, all that stuff, it has to do with cartels. There is a lot of that stuff happening with Mexican authorities, right? A lot of the Mexican state police is involved in sex trafficking, in sex rings, in arms trafficking. Most of these passports, identifications, all that's coming out of, Mexican officials, and the money is from them. These marketplaces where I'm in, that I'm checking it right now, I'm gonna put out a story soon. Most of these marketplaces where you can find from exotic animals to, bums, a lot of crazy, they are run by Mexican state officials, right? The administrators of the groups are Mexican state officials.
Yeah.
So they do have these technology to live track your location. I just told you about like how I asked some of my contacts, like, "Hey, can you pin me this guy?" They're renting that service to cartels, but the ones managing that operation, when let's say you are a cartel member, whatever, you want to find a rival or you want to find a journalist like me, you're gonna call these guys. It's like, "Hey, dude, how much for a location for this guy?" And he's gonna charge you 50,000 pesos.
Wow.
They'll even give you the price to put charges against someone. It's like, "What charge do you want me to put him?" I don't know, dude, like drug trafficking. All right, all good. They'll put up a checkpoint, grab these guys, they're like, "Oh, you were sought after for drug smuggling." It's like, "Dude, dude, here's the charges." They will take him into a judge. The judge will see your case. They're like, "Yes, dude, 20 years in prison, 30 years in prison." And that will cost you 50,000 pesos.
Which is
nothing. It's like
$2,000?
$2,000, yes. Literally, dude, to put someone in jail. So again.
And I assume there's a price to get somebody killed too. These cops are known triggermen.
Exactly. I mean, on these marketplaces, I haven't seen yet, the killings. I don't know if they have different marketplaces for that.
Probably just for, cartel members.
Exactly.
Right. They call up their button men who are the cops, but it's like they have menus.
Exactly.
With different.
And then again, a lot of these, the underworld, thing, it's handled by Mexican officials. So sometimes cartels will say like, "We don't kidnap," and then the rival cartel will say like, "We're not kidnapping, it's you." And at the end of the government who's making the kidnaps and asking for ransom.
And that makes total sense, because why do you need to kidnap migrants? They're paying. They're paying customers. We're moving them through.
Yes.
So the people that are doing the kidnapping.
Yes. Whenever a member of the press, this is why we are uncomfortable for these guys, right? For Mexican officials and not even for cartels. Cartels know what they're doing. They'll just, if you show up to a safe house, they'll say like, "What the are you doing here? Just get the out. Don't publish that story. Give me your camera wherever. Get the out away from here." They'll just keep going, right? But whenever there is an operation, because they will kidnap migrants, Mexican officials will kidnap migrants on official vehicles, dressed as proper police, whatever. Whenever they show up and someone tips you off and say like, "Hey, dude, there's an operation to rescue migrants," right? They're not gonna rescue them. They're just gonna move them to a different bodega, to a different warehouse, away from cartels. Most of my sources here in Juarez, in this neighborhood that work for the Juarez cartel, they're like, "Dude, the state police, the worst. They're stealing migrants from us.
Oh my God.
We're storing them to get them across."
It's like they're kilos of coke.
Exactly.
They're jacking them.
They're jacking the migrants and asking ransom. But if a member of the press is there, they will say like, "We rescue these migrants from these that had them kidnapped, whatever." That's not true.
You know the term gaslighting?
That is good. Yeah, exactly.
Mexico is one giant gaslight.
Dude, yes.
You never know the truth.
100%, dude. It's a game of mirrors, dude.
Now, great. Now we're in Juárez. We've just come from Venezuela. We've made it across the Darion Gap. We've gone through Central America, made it through all these Mexican checkpoints, the routes, probably spent 30 grand.
Yeah.
That's easy to assume, right?
Yeah.
Now, how does it work?
So
show us how big are the caravans, or how big are these groups they move at a time?
Usually they move into caravans all the way up to probably Mexico City. After that, they start splitting into smaller numbers, right?
10, 5?
10, 20, even 30,
Right.
groups moving on different routes. Some of them are gonna go to Tijuana, some of them are gonna go to Tamaulipas, some of them are gonna go.
Do they have a choice which
No,
port of
I
entry?
think that's a smuggler all the way back from where they come, right? It
Gotcha.
depends on the network that captures them, right? So they're gonna tell them, you go to Zacatecas, Durango, and Juárez, or you're gonna go Sinaloa and then Tijuana, or you're gonna go the other way, right? When they get here, on these neighborhood, probably, yes, most of them are in this neighborhood, they will have a lot of stash houses. So you will gather a group of 10, then a group of another 10, and then a group of 5, and then in a different house, another 30, whatever. You're gonna store them while one of the lookouts, that's also rings my bell. We probably need to move here before dark because that's when it starts getting active, and we don't be in the way. We don't want to be in the way with cameras with these guys.
Right.
Lookouts are always along these borders.
Okay,
right?
so when it starts to get dark, lookouts will start taking their positions. Okay.
Because we still have all these dirt road to go out, and all that highway and murder.
Yeah.
We need to get across an opera.
Okay, we'll wrap in like 20 because I look like a walking big bird.
Yeah.
With this,
Yeah.
we'll get out of here.
Exactly. So you have a lot of like lookouts, right?
Yeah.
Looking across the border, looking for the border patrol movement and whatever. Whenever they have a chance, whenever they see a chance, they will just move people.
But so how though? Jump and put them over the wall?
Some of them will jump through that wall when the train passes, right? If the train comes along, you see those two or three border patrol pickup trucks right there.
Yes.
So they will get on that side of the train tracks.
Right.
The train will give them enough time to get across that border.
Oh, so the train works as it blocks them. It blocks their
them.
view.
They will jump and they will try to run through the mountain, right?
Right.
Some of them will get caught, some of them not. They will. Some of the migrants that they don't pay, they pay less money. They're gonna be what they call anzuelos, right? What do you call these?
Anzuelos. No sé.
What you send it to, like the fisherman uses to catch fishes?
Oh yeah. Tackle or it's what? I don't
Basically
know.
distractors, right? They will
Right.
send them to get them apprehended.
Oh, bait.
Bait. They will be bait,
Anzuelos.
right? Yeah. So they will send them over. They will be captured, while the bigger group is gonna actually make
Just
it,
like
make it
drugs.
across.
Just like they would do with a drug load.
Now you have that mountain. Of course, the border wall can't climb up that mountain.
Right.
It's really rough, right?
Right.
To put the border wall on the mountain. So some of them will just walk all the way to the top of the mountain, stay there for a couple of hours, and when they feel there is a chance, they will just go.
Now, are they escorted once they make it over the fence? Is there an escort?
No, it's all phone.
Oh,
it's all
wow.
phone.
Okay.
Or they say like, you know what, just go straight. There's gonna be a house, and in that house there's gonna be this guy on a white SUV, whatever. Jump in, and off you go. Usually the guy's gonna be an American, right?
So we could be looking at a house, stashing a bunch of migrants right now,
100%.
waiting for the signal.
Yes. As soon as it's getting darker, you're gonna see more activity. That's why you see more border patrol right there. That
Right.
checkpoint was not there when we were driving, right? Yeah.
So, like we found out, getting to know you, the way that the drug trade has decentralized, especially with Sinaloa,
Yeah.
right? People are basically no longer on payroll. Everybody is contracted out.
Yeah.
You own the trucking company, so you're paid to transport to the border.
Yeah.
You are the mule, paid to get it across.
Exactly.
We give it to you, bye-bye. Does the same hold true with human smuggling?
Exactly.
So the people that where the migrants are hidden right there could just be, a family that wants to make money and they loan their house out to the cartel to stash,
exactly. And that's the same goes for all the network all through Central and South America, right?
Okay.
So you have a Venezuelan gang, and they're gonna make money just to put them out of Venezuela and into the next country. Then you have a next gang, and they're gonna make money out of them, So it's a whole horizontal network operating right here.
It seems even more flattened than the drug game.
The drugs, yes.
Because, because Mayo out of Sinaloa has pull at the southern border. The Sinaloa cartel, if there is a ton of coke that crosses the Guatemalan border into Mexico, they control it. They have people paid off. They have it controlled all the way to the border.
Exactly.
It doesn't sound like human smuggling is that. They don't have a grip on it like that.
No, it's different small cells, right? That are charging right there through their turf, and then you move to the next one.
And every cell has a fee.
Yeah, exactly. Every cell has a fee.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
So, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. came down here. Every politician has basically come down here. They had their different takes. They say that the cartel now is marketing the cartel, whatever that means, right?
Yeah.
The brands are marketing all over the world, letting people know, I don't know how they put their marketing out online, letting people know this is the process. We will put you on a plane, get you to Mexico City. You'll immediately be met by somebody from the organization, given the proper paperwork, put on a domestic flight to the border, and then moved across. I found that fascinating. What do you think? How true is that?
That could be very well true, man. Yes, I mean it operates like that. Again, we're on an internet.
That sounds like the Sinaloa move.
Yeah,
that's a very white collar.
Could even be Cartel del Golfo or the Juárez Cartel. It just depends on who you know and where is that people you know, right? If you don't know anyone in Africa, then you're probably not gonna get Africans on your network, right? But if you know someone, if you're like, oh, you know what? Some African gang says like, you know what, I'm selling arms, or they're using these routes. I know a guy from Sinaloa, or now I got from the Juárez Cartel, whatever. I did. Or even I know someone from the Mexican government in Mexico City that is corrupt, So it's gonna help me out in Mexico City, but that guy in Mexico City knows someone from Sinaloa or someone from the Gulf Cartel, right? So it's different horizontal networks that will just pass along and make money, It's a world of brokers, right?
Yeah.
It's criminal brokerage around the world. So it's not hard to think, it's not hard to think that your tennis shoes are coming from China all the way to whatever they need to be in Juárez,
Yeah, it's the invisible hand. It seems like this big giant conspiracy, as official as, the CIA, but it's just gangs getting money. At the end of the day, it's just everybody shaking and moving, right?
They make it look as the Sinaloa cartel has people on their payroll everywhere, it's super organized. It's not that organized. It's just, decentralized.
It's guys with contacts.
Yes, exactly.
And he's got contacts, and he's got contacts.
Yeah, exactly.
And
imagine someone
that's
tells
capitalism.
You. Exactly.
You can't see it. It's the invisible hand.
100%. Imagine you are in, I don't know, dude, like Africa. You're a gang leader making some good bucks, but someone tells you, hey, dude, I can help you out putting people in Mexico City, and you could easily earn, a couple of thousand per each. You're gonna say like, yes, dude, let's get that rolling. I need someone there. And then,
What a surreal day, and not just because I'm hungover. This is a trip. How many people? What do you think the stats are, and how do you think this ends? Do you think a change in regime? Like, what if Trump gets back in? Will that really change anything?
It will, man. I mean, again,
will it cause the price to go up, down? What does that do to the cartels?
This is the thing. What Trump and probably a lot of Trump supporters don't realize is that in policy, he's probably not that off, right? He's probably sort of right when it comes to policy making, right? It worked during his administration. The economics of the U.S. were not as down as right now. A lot of stuff was working, right? But when you put out a discourse, you have to remember that these criminal organizations work, as you said, stock market, right? On a speculation, on fear, on a future that it's not certain, right?
Right.
Trump is huge, dude, on sending out threats, on speculating, on overstating things.
Right.
His mouth is huge.
Even though his policies and Obama's and Biden's are almost imperceptible.
Exactly, dude.
It's almost the same thing.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, Obama was deported in chief, right? He was deporting a lot of people, but his mouth was polite and quiet. It wasn't making a lot of fuss. Probably in Washington, that wasn't working because Washington and all these other cities are made out of policy, right? Of actions, not of words. But places like where I live, El Paso, Ciudad Juarez, the impact of what you say in the US or in Mexico City will have an impact on this border, right? Immediately.
So you think if
Even
Trump
if-
gets the nomination, not even before he gets elected, he gets the nomination, the price will probably go up.
It depends. It depends on how these guys perceive the
Right.
new Trump, right? If they perceive like, you know what, we know him. He wasn't that hard. It's probably gonna be, lose again.
Right.
So prices might go down. But if they say like, oh, it's gonna be Trump again. It's gonna be that huge wall all across, and it's probably depends on what he says. If sometimes at a hearing, at a public event, whatever it says, and I'm gonna put crocodiles along the Rio Grande, and even if that's not true, these guys are gonna be like, yes, that's money for us, right?
So they don't see it as anything but positive.
Yes,
I think because with Biden and loose migrant policies, they're getting money. A big, huge, scary border that's with sensors and satellites. Yeah, they can raise the price. So I don't really think they see anything as negative.
No, this is exactly nothing because they kind of
read a lot of Tony Robbins. Right? These guys.
Yeah,
I mean, the power of positive thinking.
When Biden was about to become president, right? Everybody was like, yeah, Biden have a chance of winning. Most of these guys were putting their hopes on Biden, right? Because they're like, you know what? This is not going to be Trump. So the border is going to be open. That's what they're saying, right? So they're calling every single migrant and network of smugglers are like, hey, dudes, it's right now the time you need to be here in Juárez, dude, because I need to make that money because they're going to open the border. What happened? They came here. They learned that the border was not open. And they're like, oh, my bad. Anyways, you're already here, so you need to pay to get across. And this time is harder, man, so you really need to pay more. And they're like, you told me the border was going to be open. It's not open. I'm going to have to pay you twice as what I was paying back then.
What do you think about all this? I know you're a journalist, so you just give us the facts, but because I personally, just like most Americans, when I see thousands of people on camera like just walking through the border, right? Doing somersaults, I'm like, that's a problem. That's scary.
Yes. Yes.
And especially hearing that the money that they get, and me as a kind of like a libertarian fiscal conservative, I'm like, our country has debt that we can almost never repay.
Yeah.
We can't be giving a guy who came here illegally $2,000 a month when there's Americans who can't feed their kids. Like, what's the happy medium? What's good about migrants coming in, and what needs to change?
This is the thing, dude. Like, to me, living in the border, living both sides, being a dual citizen, I think we need to put things more into perspective and not to go into extremes, right? The 2,000 bucks and the cell phone and everything is not going for anyone. And again, I think the U.S. has definitely deeper problems than a bunch of migrants claiming political asylum. Not to diminish the problem, right? Because cities like El Paso and Ciudad Juarez, they feel hard these whole border surges.
They can't absorb. How can you absorb 10,000 people a month in that little city?
Yes, and it's hard and it's difficult. And you go through downtown and you have a bunch of people and you feel insecure, even though they probably don't want your money. If you go and take a hike to that beautiful mountain, you see a large group of Venezuelans with your kid, you're like, oh, even though I know them and I've been, like I know immigration, whatever, it can be intimidating, right? But again, if we let ourselves go to both extremes, where we say like close the border, that's not going to help. If we go to the other extreme, open the border, it's not going to work. I think there's got to be a point in the middle where Biden has a good idea. The whole CVP, the whole system, he's just a operator. It's someone with a great idea. So like, hey dude, let's do a podcast right here. But he doesn't have a clue how to set up cameras, how to set up lighting, all that shit. We need a system. Right now, even though Biden says there is a system, there is not a and that's putting at risk people in the U.S., people in Mexico, democracy of both countries, the economy of both countries, and a lot of innocent people trying just to save their lives by claiming political asylum and opening a path, because there's a mess, opening a path for criminals. Making money for Mexican cartels and opening a path for actual criminals trying to push into the U.S.
Right.
So I think we need the details. When we read headlines, when we listen to politicians, when we hear about like how they're going to establish a new policy, immigration policy, whatever, we need the details. That's why you need longer journalism, you know, like
Yeah, that's right. Podcasts. What will a bunch of Venezuelans, let's say, right? Let's remove like the African immigrants and let's just say Latinos. What will a huge influx of Venezuelan migrants do to the Mexican labor force in the U.S.? Yeah. Will Mexicans feel threatened?
Yeah.
Because they'll undercut even illegal Mexican wages?
Yeah.
Like what?
This is the thing. Most of the guys who are released into the U.S., they can't work. They can't obtain a permit to work. Most of these Venezuelans, they can't work, right?
Why?
Because the government says like that. They say like, okay.
Technically, you're still illegal.
Yeah, if you're an illegal, you're not able to, if we find you working, we're gonna send you back to your country. You can't work. You need to stay put. So they're like, what are we gonna leave off of, right? So sometimes they just give it $2,000, why you say, not to all of them, to some of them.
Yeah.
Some others are just begging for money. Some others are just literally waiting on the shelters for people like myself to, you know, give them goods, give them a jacket, give them clothes, you know.
Can they get work in kitchens the way, you know, the early Mexican immigrants did?
They can't. If they get caught, they're gonna lose their whole political asylum process. They're gonna put that at stake. Wow. So there's a bunch of Mexicans in El Paso and different places saying like, these guys are lazy. They're just like laying outside the shelter all day begging for money. Yeah. It's not that they're lazy, bro. It's that they can't work. They're risking the whole political asylum.
So this is up. This is almost like welfare. It's disincentivizing people to become citizens and to work.
That's what I'm telling you. It's all in the details, right?
Yeah.
It's not that they don't want to work. They can't.
Right, they can't.
So there is not a system that works.
Right.
They're like, okay, we'll put you in. And then what? We'll tell you later, but stay put. And they're like, but in the meantime, what are we gonna do, right? We're gonna.
Okay, let me ask you this, because you know you're very much an American, even though you've lived here all your life. You know, you've got cultural elements in both. Do you think, because of how deeply corrupt, almost hopelessly corrupt Mexico is, do you think it would be fair? You know, Trump had the remain in Mexico policy while you're waiting to get cleared to go in. What do you think about that? Like the U.S. saying, no, you guys got to deal with them. You got factories where they can work. You're the ones who are facilitating all this. Like, how do you feel as half Mexican?
I feel that it makes perfect sense, right? Like, you can wait in Mexico if there were not a lot of criminals preying on you, right? You could probably get some decent work at a factory. Right. We need a lot of workforce in Juárez. Juárez is a very dynamic city. There's a lot of jobs opening every single day.
Right.
The thing is, you have a bunch of criminals preying on these guys.
Well, what would they do? Like, what if there was a remain in, like, you can't force a person to go across the border.
No, but that's what has been happening before when we're seeing this footage of migrants getting kidnapped, getting killed, asked for ransom, you know, just because you hear the accent. Some of the Venezuelans, dude, they wouldn't even, they're going to try to hide their accent. They're going to say like, hey, güey.
¿Dónde way?
Yeah, because they're trying to hide that because they know that immediately as one of these guys say like, oh, un venezolano.
Yeah. Hey, if he has a neck, he's not Mexican.
Like, come over here, man. Yeah. Exactly.
If he has a space between his shoulders and his chin, he's not Mexican.
He has a chin, no Mexican dude. Yes, yeah.
Man, well, Luis, fantastic, nuanced as usual. You know, go plug away, please. I need you guys to really go out and with his page. He's trying to get the socials up and the YouTube. Tell him what you got going on.
I'm trying to get people to subscribe to my Instagram channel at Luis Curiaki. You'll plug it in, hopefully.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, you're not gonna get any exclusive. I believe in open information for everyone. I don't believe paywalls. So yeah, I'm just gonna post everyone, but I mean everything open. But if you guys can't support, it's just $2.99 a month. Nothing, right? The New York Times subscription is like $10 a month.
It's insane.
The average is $4 a month. Yeah. I'm just charging
I paid $5 for coffee.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Yeah, so go support him.
I'm putting up there a bunch of reels, a bunch of information, photos, a lot of exclusive and original content on Instagram.
Yeah, dude, it's killer. And then how do we wrap? I mean, so the sun's about to go down. What if would you see a group of guys like coming up and telling us to leave? Like, would we be in trouble?
That's exactly what you don't want.
Yeah.
Because these where we are right now, It's in the middle of nowhere, dude.
But it doesn't feel like it, because look, I'm surrounded by civilization.
Yeah,
well, this
dude.
is considered the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, dude, this is
outta here.
enough, because I mean, you have that highway,
Yeah.
and then you have the dirt road we took to here.
Yeah.
This is no man's land.
Wow.
No one will get here to save you.
So I imagine you go 10 miles out there,
It's even
you're in the
worse.
middle of the desert.
Yeah.
And those routes, I mean, that's like bandito. I
Yes.
mean, you don't go out there. Citizens don't go out there.
Yeah, because there's another port of entry there. If you're going straight to that port of entry, but even that port of entry closes like at 9 at night, right? It's gonna they close operations. So yeah, dude, like you don't want to be here. You don't want to hear. The whole time I've been sitting here, I was like, I'm just waiting for no one to, because whenever you hear a vehicle here, then
Okay, yeah, let's get the f*** out of here. Thank you guys, appreciate it. Thanks, Luis.
Let's go, bro.
You're the best, buddy.